Hello, today we're gonna do Kishoutenketsu, which is the Japanese name for the 4-act story structure that is very, very popular in Asia. We're going to do first a short explanation of what it is, and then we're gonna go fairly in depth into how it applies to the first episode of the anime, The Promised Neverland. This is gonna be fairly detailed, so mostly appropriate for writers or directors. But if you're neither and still interested, then stick with the video, see how it goes for you. All right, so we have a timeline here and the division that is most common for Kishoutenketsu. Now, do note, this is the Japanese perspective of this. I guess every culture is going to have a different interpretation. And for Japanese, we have Kishoutenketsu, the 4 acts. The divisions are most commonly in modern anime, from what I've seen, is 1/8, a half, a quarter, and then another eighth. Some acts can be, some stories can have equal acts with all quarters. And the really advantage of this method, one of many, is that that structure is very, very, very flexible. So as long as the act fulfills its duty, I can broadly say that you can pick whatever length you want. Ki is introduction, Shou is development, Ten is, well, it usually is translated as twist, but I use the term turn, as in turning, right or left. So, because twist has the implication that of a Western kind of twist, right? Like in a Western work, but ten doesn't have to be like this. It can be just a different perspective, but not necessarily a surprise kind of twist. Okay, so we have 10, and then the last one is Ketsu. Ketsu means resolution. So you're probably familiar, if you come here from a Western background, with the 3-act structure, where we have beginning, middle, and end. We have a plot point before every change, and in the middle there's another important plot point called the midpoint. This was made popular by Sid Field, and indeed, every time I hear this term, I can immediately smell the paper that the book is made from. Anyway, so the differences are fairly big, but I would say for this video, what you should consider are 2 main differences. The first one is that Kishoutenketsu is much more flexible than the 3-act structure in the length and in how you fulfill the goal of each act. But there's a second thing you should remember, and that is that Kishoutenketsu is not only flexible by itself, but its flexibility has a side effect for other story elements. So we'll see when we go through The Promised Neverland how the foreshadowing can be different, how maybe the meaning of things changes as the act progresses. All right, so let's go through. I've made an outline here for The Promised Neverland. And let me close this. And I've divided that according to the percentages that we had from earlier, which is eighth, half, quarter, and another eighth. So you have 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and 2 minutes. You see there's a difference here. The key is not precisely an eighth. An eighth would be 2.5 minutes out of 20. But this is 3 minutes because this often happens. The key is gets a little bit more time at the expense of Ketsu. It also 10 has a twist, a proper twist, but not where you think it is. Well, first of all, if you haven't seen The Promised Neverland, please go watch it. The first episode is 20 minutes, so go see it and then come back and we'll analyze it. I'm going to assume that you've seen it. You can gather what's going on from watching this video, but better just seeing the thing yourself. All right, so if you've watched it, then you know there's a twist, and you'd assume that's 10, but it's not. It's not. We'll see it in a bit. All right, we'll see it in a bit. So the movie starts, the episode starts with them looking outside. We have a cold open, and we have character reveal. And we have the atmosphere of the place, contrast between inside and outside. We see how the 3 different main characters, how they react differently to that contrast. and we have just a tiny little bit of seeing the premise. And after this, we have the opening. And we get, like any student film, although it works fine here, we get a morning routine. Again, we get character reveal, more character reveal, the way the main three behave. And we've seen Isabella, which they call Mama. And this ends, I think, yeah, when the music ends, you can hear it. We have this kind of morning routine music. There it is. And this really easily marks the end of the introduction. This was 3 minutes, and we have basically, by the book, introduced everything. We know that they're in an orphanage. We've seen that there's one main adult responsible for all of them. We've seen that they're very behaving, that they're nice to each other. We've seen how the different characters react in their normal kind of day. Introduced, fairly simple, okay? Now, if we contrast this to something like the first act of a 3-act structure, then note that there's missing here a plot point. There are no plot points here. We simply move on to the next act because we have fulfilled the goal of that act, right? Key's goal has been fulfilled, we can move on. In the first act of the 3-act structure, the way it's commonly understood is it doesn't matter if you did your exposition. You still have to have a plot point that propels the story forward by usually setting a goal for the protagonist. Or he sets to himself or to herself or whatever. But there's a goal being set somehow. This is unnecessary here. It's not happening. Okay? Just the only purpose here is introducing. Once you have fulfilled that goal, you can move on. All right, so we start with Mama's speech.
おはよう、私の可愛い子供たち。こうして今日も38人の兄弟みんなで幸せに暮らせることに感謝して。
Right. We get to see kind of foreshadowing, right? Because we don't know what the numbers mean yet. But we see that there is again contrast between the nice morning routine that they had, very cheerful, and those weird numbers on their neck. And that is, notice that Shou, when it's called development, it doesn't mean necessarily development of just the plot or just the characters. It's development of everything, right? So here what we get development of is of the contrast. We get more contrast than we had before. And you don't have to develop contrast in every development act, but doing that development of those principles like contrast that you decide you want to have in your story is the role of this act. All right, so this is important. Connie here is going to leave, is going to get adopted. And earlier they showed us a calendar, and we're going to see it again, where today is the day she's being adopted. This can be a surprise. It can be a 10, right? You can have a turn at the third act where Connie is living. No one told us, maybe the characters knew, but we as the audience did not know. Yet, it is important that they tell us now and remind us along the story that it's going to happen. And you see how it works when we go forward. But it's very important to know that you can't just make stuff up and excuse it as being a twist or a turn. It has to have meaning in the context of the story. So, yeah, we have development here. We're going to have the tests. Oh. Yeah. And in the tests here, we get, I wrote here double duty, but double, it's more like triple or quadruple duty. Because look, we have character development and revelation where we know how smart everyone is. We get foreshadowing to the importance of the test because, or to the role of the kids who are successful in the test. We get over here at the end, the ones who fell behind in the test reveal themselves as well. There it is. So we have We have character revelation in those tests. We have foreshadowing in those tests because the smarter kids are going to have a more important role further on. And then we have character exposition, and we also have where 10, the third act out of the 4, 10 can change the perspective or should change the perspective of the audience. So this scene here with the tests is going to have a whole new meaning when we get to the turn, a whole different meaning. You see how Shou is really about expanding and increasing the depth to which every element of the story is known to the audience, or as much as you can fit in the time you have, right? Next scene is exactly the same. He has this challenge for a game of tag. You can hear how he says that here. Listen to him. It's funny how the character reveal is pretty good. Remember, it's still an anime, but or a shonen anime to be precise. But the character reveal is good, is well done. And listen to him. Onigokko de Shoubuda. Onigokko is the Japanese name for the game of tag, and it literally means, let's keep a little bit further up, see how they play. It literally means demon imitation, because the person who is it imitates a demon, and then the demon has to touch or catch the other players in tag. That is incredible foreshadowing. It's great development because it does everything that the test did for another subject, right? So first of all, it gives us the foreshadowing that no one could really guess that Onigokko means what it means. That's one of them. And then the other foreshadowing is this skill is going to be useful, right? Because later on we find out this is a microcosm of a larger plot. Further than that, we get character revelation, exposition, and we get character development. All of them, again, really well made. And some of those points only make sense after turning. Yep, so they play Onigokko. And yeah, we have character reveal. We have those two facing one another, contrasting. Again, this is also a deepening of the contrast that they have developed in this episode. Right? Development. Every time if you write something like that, remember that you can develop things that are not the main things of the story. So you can develop things beyond character and plot. You can develop the concepts behind the story, like contrast. So that's very useful because that's usually the longest act, sure, and sometimes it gets a little bit hard to fill it up. So if you think about what else can I develop besides the things I'm already developing, that's going to be a real help. It also will feed itself. So you're going to do that and you think, oh, now that I've developed contrast, I've discovered something else I can do with the characters. That's also helpful. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Yep, more character development. And they're going to do another game. Yep, a rematch. And in this one, we have, it's a transitioning section where we again get the contrast of, you see a lot of contrast in this episode, and especially in this act, which is responsible for development. Now we see the contrast of inside and outside, right? We see her at the edge, we see the rails over here, and we see how the three main protagonists, treat that concept differently once more, because when we saw them in the cold open, they were kids, younger kids. And the other kids are wondering where the hell did they go, so they join them, and they have some talk, character revelation, maybe some stakes here, I think. And then we get talking about Connie leaving. That's probably like the fifth time we are reminded of her leaving. We had at the beginning, we had a calendar, and we had another calendar somewhere, and then we had her talking now, and I think there was another one, maybe 4 times. Again, it's very important for what's to come. For stakes as well, but You know, when you think about third act structure, you think, oh, this is for stakes. We have to care about it. And that's true in a sense. But when we get to 10, we'll see how it has some other roles and why it's important to have been reminded this, okay? Okay, so this is also connecting to the next scene or sequence where she actually leaves. We see Isabella takes her stuff off the wall, Connie's stuff off the wall, and she says goodbye to everybody, being adopted. And you see someone started crying before the others. That's character reveal. Every scene here serves multiple purposes, which is very important. And then she's actually leaving. And we get a very important question with no answer. A quick note from the future. I forgot to mention this, but did you notice that there is something else missing in development? Well, it's not really missing, but it's just not a requirement, and that is conflict. If you take a close look here, conflict is not a necessity for this structure, which is another great advantage that it has. Sometimes you need conflict, sometimes you don't need conflict, and this structure can help you move the story along even without one. Depends on where it goes, what you need. So keep that in mind. Now back to the video. So we get the last part of Shou, which is the forgotten bunny. Right. And then they are gonna go and give it to her. That's it. Norman and Emma are gonna run and give it the stuffed bunny back to Connie. They try to catch up with her. And so we have arrived at 10. We have arrived at 10. And here what we have is not a twist, right? Because if you watch the episode, you think, shouldn't the twist be here? Because if we're turning, but there's no twist, then we haven't turned yet, right? Well, that is correct and incorrect. Because remember, Kishoutenketsu is completely up to you in the way you fulfill the role of the structure, of the role of the acts. In this case, whoever wrote this decided that that twist is not going to be the turning point. The turning point is running to Connie, is going outside, all right? Because all of this episode was, if we're always inside, we're inside. But now we have a change of perspective. Now we are looking outside. This is why it's also a very good episode to learn Kishoutenketsu on, because it's very by the book. So as you see, we have turned without a twist. However, a twist is coming. So where will that twist be? If I click here on 10, I've outlined inside the act itself. Okay, so Kishoutenketsu, being flexible as it is very, very, very fractal. You can put the structure inside of whatever part of the story you're at. So the same is here. The 10 act I've outlined in Kishoutenketsu. So this is the key of 10. This is the Shou of 10. This is the 10 of 10. This is Ketsu of 10. Okay, so they're running out to give it to Connie. This is key. We're introduced to the setting. And then we are developing, okay? Developing means, remember, everything that there is to develop, not only the plot and the characters. Connie. But nonetheless, we get plot and character development. This is mostly what we get here. Oh, before they got in, they say something important. This is what we were told in the cold open. And then he says we can get scolded together later, which means for the characters, we care more about Connie being happy than being punished. It reveals something common to the two of them, to Emma and to Norman. Okay, and then they go in, and we get exploration of where they are, development of the location, of the setting. Yep. And there's a key point where Emma goes to the back of the truck and she sees something inside. She drops the bunny, she's very scared. And if we go back for a minute to thinking about this as a fractal kind of structure, you can see that this is also Kishoutenketsu, right? And the 10 here is happening now. The 10 of 10 is happening now. So this is, oh, I'm sorry. This is gonna be, yeah, this is the 10 of Shou of 10. This is like, so you think this 10 has Shou inside of it, and this Shou has 10 inside of it. That's Emma saying Connie. And then that 10 will leave to resolution, and that is the resolution. That's Ketsu. So 10 Shou, and then Ketsu is gonna be revealing Connie. And the 10 here, the 10 of 10, this is gonna be confusing, so you may have to rewind and rewatch this 2 minutes. But the 10 of 10 here is the next part. This part. Oh, we had an ad break here, and we're back from the ad break. Yep. And now we're gonna have 10 of 10. Yep. Someone is coming, they're hiding below, and then we have the best reveal of a demon on television. How good is that? Yep, so that's very good. And this is the 10, right? The 10 is you are in a farm for demons, right? You're being raised as food for demons. That is the 10 of 10, okay? And that's going to be after we had the 10 of Shou of 10, which is Connie's dead, okay? So you can see the flexibility you have here in positioning different story elements and different plot points, you can say, in different locations according to what serves the story best. In Parasite, and I mean the movie, not the anime, and I'm going to leave a timestamp on the screen for when I stop talking about this, because there is not really a spoiler, but something slight. If you want to skip that, you can see on the screen the timestamp. Anyway, so in Parasite, in that movie, the twist that happens at the middle. So Parasite has a more equal division of Ki, Shou, 10, and Ketsu are all quarters. And then right at the beginning of 10, maybe like a couple minutes in, you get the twist. So you really have flexibility of where you put things in. It's a strong advantage of this kind of structure. All right, so we have this. Yeah. And then we have, the reveal is great. Oh my God. And then we have Isabella. It's another reveal of how bad she is. You see that? The person they trusted so much is evil. Yeah, very, very good. And then the 10 of 10 of 10 is the demon sensing someone is there. And that leads to not finding anyone. And then the Ketsu of 10 over here, this is them running away, resolving this storm of an act. Yep. And then let's go back here to the main outline. We have Ketsu, the actual Ketsu of the episode. Yep. And they talk about it, and we have the eavesdropping, which is very important, and the episode ends. We do have a slight kind of cliffhanger over here. Beautiful music. Then we have the ending. Yeah, that's it. It's very, very, very good, very well made, and I hope it gives you a glimpse of how you would incorporate Kishoutenketsu meaningfully into your story. Remember that you don't have to embrace the entire thing. Kishoutenketsu does not have to be nested inside itself. It can be nested in other things. You can have a 3-act structure for your script, and then one of those acts is going to be Kishoutenketsu. And we come back to the beginning here, and that's the advantage over something like, say, the 3-act structure, meaning that you don't have to have plot point 1, midpoint, and plot point 2 exactly where they need to be. Here they can be anywhere, really, as long as you have each act fulfill its purpose. I think that's all of it. If you enjoyed, please do subscribe and like the video. This was a fairly longer one, so let me know in the comments if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what do you think about the structure, so on and so forth. And check out my next video. It's going to be way more casual. It's going to talk about the difference between coincidences in anime and Western cinema. See you then.